Okay, so the changes that we have done to make this work is on the front side in 3D roughing, we have changed the tool here to a smaller down cut. So this is the 4.6 225K 1/8 instead of 1/4. Still a down cut, still an end mill, but I just went finer. So we made that change. It's still in the selected vector of a really closed in box. We did a machine allowance of 1/4 millimeter. And then we did a profile cut with the same tool. I just changed the profile cut to be the 1/8 and just 0.01 millimeter further than the 18 millimeter depth. Allowance offset here. I basically did that offset so that we come in from this vector enough that we get a clean cut there and we don't have anything rough left. On the finish, we changed to this 4.6 282 taper ball nose. So that's the bit that I showed in the previous video. A much longer bit, much finer, and we did off of a selected vector here, and I did a really close vector right here for the boundary. The reason for that is because we also did a 21% step over, and this bit is much finer. So its tool path is a good bit slower. So it was completely unnecessary to let that run any further than just around the edge. And then on the bottom side, this vector measurement, 65 millimeters. This is from the origami. So I already had worked out that's a good vector, and it follows the 3D print model that I showed in the final explanation of the last video. And so this vector, I just created a circle vector off the center, 65 millimeters, and I use it as the pocket boundary along with that square vector that we copy over from the front. And so these two vectors form a pocket here. And then we pick this bowl bit, which is a pretty sizable bowl bit, and a conventional path, offset in conventional direction. And that cuts out the bottom to 9 millimeters. And so the top we know is 9 millimeters. And because we centered up the model for 18 millimeters here, 18 millimeters is the material depth. And so the bottom side is half of it. So we cut with the bowl bit 9 millimeters down, and we just cut that out. Basically pockets out all of this. It estimates to take almost a couple hours. Looks real smooth on the bottom side. It cuts out like that. And so that's pretty decent for 2 hours and looks much better. So it was mostly tool change. This is why this takes a long time with that small bit. But it gives a nice finish. You can see all these tool paths. And again, we run this as an offset. So it runs kind of in a circle following the model's shape. And so that's the changes there. all we've got left to do is sand the V60 holder down. It's pretty smooth, so that shouldn't take us too long. Normally for the origamis and stuff, we will put Danish oil on them, let them sit 24 hours plus. And then we will do a spray lacquer. Person who requested that I figure out how to do this, they just wanted cutting board oil. So we're gonna sand it and then coat it with cutting board oil. Raise the green. Also, get a good look at it. Give it another look, and then we'll coat it with cutting board oil. Okay, so for lasering the logo, we have an X tool. So we start the X tool studio. I'm creating a new job. I'm grabbing our logo from a previous job. And then I'm going to Aspire, pick the vectors, and then I export them as an SVG, an X tool studio. We'll import. And so now we have the size and shape. So I take the vector. I'm lining up the vector to where the laser is right now. I place the laser in the piece of material. So I'm lining up the vector to where the material is relative to where the laser is pointed. And then I just scale the logo and place it where I want it to be. And then I select the logo, double check the settings that I use, which is 50% power and 175 millimeters per second. So we just set that. And then set bitmap mode to Jarvis, 100 lines per centimeter. So once we do this, the laser basically measures and then rehomes. And so you're seeing it move. And now we know it's 47.76 millimeters to the surface. And so now I'm just making sure that the vectors that all we're using is for placement are ignored. And just the engraving is done. And then you just tell it to process and then hit start. It sends the file. And then get up and go hit the button just like it says. And it engraves it. Logo is engraved.